Okay, welcome everyone to Serenity Education channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We have a series of revision towards our June examination, both theory and practical. Those of you who have joined me, thank you for joining me. And then if you have any question, don't forget to add your question in the comment section, and then I'm going to address every single question. Right, today we're going to focus mainly on spreadsheet, what is expected from us regarding spreadsheet. And then grade 12 spreadsheet covers out of 150 marks, 50%, which is 1/3 of the entire paper. And then you mostly find spreadsheet in question 3 and then question 4, and also some part of question 7. Now, without wasting much time, let me check if everybody can see the screen and also hear my voice. If they can indicate there so that I can start the lesson. All right, I'm going to check the comment section. Great, thank you so much. Those of you who have indicated. So before we start solving questions, I've also shared the link. If you can't find the link, I'm going to share again, and I also shared to the group, whereby you will find the grade 12 June revision. That link, I will put every single topic link there. You can have access to them and then download them. So I'm going to share also the link again. You can download everything there. Now, let's go through what is expected from us regarding spreadsheet for term 1 and term 2. First of all, you need to know the cell formatting, which we have to take it from grade 10 and 11. We learned something about formatting cells in spreadsheet. And then print setup, changing the print area, repeating header rows and grid lines, worksheet management, conditional formatting, name range. All these are part of grade 11 content. So from here up to this part is grade 10 and 11. You need to know them. They can ask question on that, mostly question 3. And then data validation, basic functions also from grade 10 and 11. Expect some questions also from there. Then in grade 12, spreadsheet functions like if statement. You did it in term 1. Lookup functions also in term 1. And then also text function week 6. And I know most of you are also doing this. It will also be there in grade 12 June examination. Some ifs, count ifs will also be there. And some cases, average if or average ifs. It will also be there. So take note of that. Date functions and then time functions, also grade 12 concept. Then ranking and ordering functions like large and small from grade 11. And then autofill and freeze pane, also from grade 11. Removing duplicates, subtotal, and then charts or graphs from grade 11 and grade 10. So these are the components of spreadsheet which constitutes 50 marks. So today we will try as much as possible and solve questions regarding these aspects. So the question paper that I've sent you, you'll get a data file. When you click on this link, you can get access to that data file. And this recording or the video also here, you can have access to that. Right. So I think you cannot see my screen. I'm going to repeat. Some of you indicated you did not see the screen. Sorry for that. So you can get the data file from here and then also the video link. Then these are the structures that I was just talking about. The spreadsheet structure that you should be looking out for regarding grade 12 concept. Now, without wasting much time, I will start with the first question regarding the worksheet. So you can join me by opening the data file. And this data file, I have grouped them into different worksheets. You will see learner's worksheet, subject lookup, tax shop, staff, events, and then the drop-down list. So I will use one worksheet and then make sure that I cover all the topics. I'm sorry for all those who did not see the screen. Yes, I just saw it, and I think right now you can see the screen. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, thank you very much. Now, the first part is the worksheet or sheet management. Now, the first question says, insert a new row above row 1 in the merge cell A1 to M4. Type the heading Serenity High School, which I'm going to use that learner register 2026, merge and center A1 to M1, and then apply a navy fill with white bold text size of 16. So here I'm going to cover so many things for this particular question. So I'm going to insert a new row. To insert a row, you right click on row 1 and then you see insert. Now the question says we need to merge from A1 up until M1. You select and then merge cells, you will see them here. If in examination you don't know where to find merge cells and you are wasting time, just go to search and type merge and center. You are going to find merge cells so that you can merge those cells together. You put them together. Right. And then now the question says you must type Serenity High School. Learner Register 2026. Right. So we have entered that. Now, there are so many things that the question can ask you to apply over here. First of all, if we check our scope, we have to merge and center, applying border, and then filling with a pattern or gradient fill. So here I'm going to apply border around this part. So when you click on it, you will see from font, there is border, and then you click on more borders. Now, if you cannot remember this again, when you select the cell, go to search or tell me what to do and type border. It's gonna give you a clue and then you go to more borders. Then you apply a border over there with a border color, let's say red, and then you choose outline so that there will be a red border around it. So basically, that is how we apply a border around a particular cell. Now, alternatively, you can also do that by right-clicking and then you see format cells. Then you see border. You can also change the font over there. Let's say we want to change the font and then bold, italic, and a font size of, let's say, 22. Then if you want to fill or shade, you'll find it also there. Now, in grade 12, expect filling like pattern style and then the gradient fill. Now, when you are filling with a pattern style, you will see the pattern color and then the pattern style. There are so many pattern styles. The question will always tell you what type of pattern style should you use, like reverse diagonal stripe. We have here vertical stripe. You can select it and click OK. So that is how we apply a pattern style. Now, if the question says the gradient fill, again, you right click and choose format cells. You'll find fill and then you see fill effects. Now, this is where you see gradient with two colors. The question will always tell you color one. Let's say color one will be blue or light blue, and color two will be white. Then we have the shading style also, whether from corner or diagonal, they will tell you, and then OK. So this is what we call the gradient fill. Don't forget, any formatting that you apply, right click, and then you see format cell. Then you can now find any formatting style there. Alternatively, you just go there and say cell or format. When you type cell, it's going to give you format cell. Then it can take you to that format cell dialog box. And let's take note of what we can do under format cell. We can put a border there. We can fill. We can protect the cell. We can change the font. We can apply the alignment. And then we can also change the number format, which you are going to see some of these questions as we progress. So all of them, you'll find them under cell. Right. Then let's check our scope again. That is about the merge and center, border, fill pattern, gradient, and also changing the currencies and then the date. How to modify the currencies and date. There are some questions that we need to also check. So here we have covered applying a thick border around it and changing the font size. So applying a border around it from A2 to A or M32, from A2 up to M32. So you select, and then again, you can just go here and say cell. You will see format cell, then you go to border, and then you apply the border style around it. So that is how we apply borders. Now the next question says, format the column school fees as a currency with a rand symbol with no decimal place. So we have the school fees. You select school fees. And then again, right click, you see format cell, or alternatively, you type cell, and then you see format cell. Then here, you go to number format, and then you choose currency. Then you select the rand symbol, which is R. So there are different currencies that you can also select over here. The question will tell you which currencies should you choose and the number of decimal places that you must also select. Then we also have, under the currency, we have the negative values. Let's say you're having negative value. They can ask you a question to maybe indicate all negative value to be red font. Then we have the normal format whereby they can ask you to use 100 separator. So you need to watch some of these things. They can ask you questions under that. Right, so here I only indicated how to choose a currency. So here they wanted a currency. So we choose currency and then we choose the rand symbol. So take note of that. Then under formatting, you can also be given a question to format the date to appear as a specific format. Now, here we are going to format the date of birth, which is in column G. So we select column G again. You right click and choose format cell. Now, anytime you are modifying a date to a specific format, you go to custom. Do not select date. Just go to custom, then you can now change them to the specific date format that they gave you. So you type them there, 2D space 3M space and then 2Y. So they will give you a specific format. There are 4 different Ys, and then you click OK. So that is the format that we need to choose. Now here we are finding hashtags, so meaning we need to expand them so that we can see all the dates. There are so many different formats that they can give you. They can give you a very weird format. Like if I want the D to be in full, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I can also do that. As you can see, 13th Monday with the /. So you do that by customizing the format, and then you'll be able to get the right thing that the question requires you to do. Okay, number 10 is asking for gradient fill. We have done that. Changing the tab color to a navy blue. This is the tab. You right click and then you see tab color. Then you choose navy blue. Navy blue is most like dark blue. If you don't get the exact color. And again, rename the worksheet. Drop down list to forms. So there's a worksheet called drop down list. They say we must rename. You just double click and then you type forms. Alternatively, you can just right click and then you see rename. Then you can type the new name. Raise the heading row so that row 2 stays visible when scrolling. Now, in most cases, this type of question, they can ask you apply a spreadsheet feature so that only row 2 will remain, or row 1 and 2 will remain on top when you scroll down. We call it freeze pane. Now, we want only row 1 and 2 to be frozen. So you go to row 3, and then you can also search here, say freeze pane. It's already frozen. So let's unfreeze. You just go to freeze pane and then you select it. So when you scroll down, 1 and 2 will be up. You can equally freeze a column. Let's say I want column A to always be visible when I scroll to the right. I select column B. And then freeze pane, you can get it from also review. Or there you go here and say freeze pane. And then you choose freeze pane. So now when I scroll, column A will always be visible. So you can freeze a column or you can freeze a row. So what you need to do is, if you are freezing, let's say column A and B, you go to column C and then you select it. If you are freezing up to row 5, you go to row 6 and then you go to freeze pane. So basically, that is how we freeze pane. So when you go to view, you see freeze pane, and then you can now apply that also. So now when I scroll down, from row 1 up to row 5 will be frozen. That is what we call freeze pane. Right. Again, turning on and off of the grid lines and then the sheet tabs. That is our next question. How do we turn on or turn off the worksheet or the grid lines? Now, You can find them when you go to page layout. You will see grid lines. So if you want to turn off the grid lines, you must remove the check. If you want to turn on grid lines, you click on this. Sometimes they can give you a question also to print grid lines. You must take this also. And then they can also ask you to take, when you print, it should always be there. The column headings must be there. So you must take this also. Again, they can ask you question to also scale or change the width. You get them under page layout. So you must watch out for that. Then setting print area. They can ask you to set a print area. Let's say you want to only print this. You select the text you want to print. And then you go to page layout. You will see print area. And then you click on set print area. That means when you click on Control P, only that portion will be printed. So that is how we set the print area. And then again, you must also know the scale. When you go there to print layout, you can reduce the scale by clicking on this arrow, and then they can ask you to change it to maybe landscape or printing to one page. You can find it there. Then setting up the margins also from the page setup. So you get it from here. You will see page setup margins. And then they can also ask you to change the header and footer, type something on the header and then the footer. You just go there and then you customize header or you customize footer. So you type it there also under the page setup. Then the sheet that needs to be printed or the sheet that needs to be set as the to repeat on top, you go to sheet and then let's say rows to repeat. You click here and select which row should be repeated. Let's say we want row 2 to be repeated. You click on it and then you press enter. So row 2 will always be printed or repeated when you print. And then we also have column to be repeated. So you must watch out for that. And also whether you want to print row and column headings and in the draft mode, then the page order. So please take note of this type of question. They can ask you that type of question also. So you must take note of that. So as you can see here, set the print area, they ask that one. Set the row heading, row 2 to repeat. Don't forget to go there and then set the page orientation to landscape to fit all columns to one page. Switch print grid lines on for the learner's worksheet only. So this is what you need to know. You must always go to page setup or page layout, and then you click on page setup. You get all those type of questions. Alternatively, if you don't know in examination, just go there, search and type page setup. Then you click there and it's going to open page setup for you. That's very short so that you can reach that aspect. Right, that is all about the first part. That's all about the first part, which is the sheet management up to this part. If there's any question, you must add it and then I'll be checking also from here. Please this video also there. It will be available for you. If you don't understand, you can watch them also. Now, somebody's asking about VLOOKUP. We will do them. These questions are available. We are going to do them also. Now, let's move straight to data validation and basic functions. Data validation and then basic functions. We are going to also look at that. So conditional formatting and then data validation. Now, we are going to still use the learner's worksheet. Conditional formatting, this is whereby you format based on a specific criteria or conditions. Now, question 19 says, apply a conditional formatting. And in most cases, the question can be, use a spreadsheet feature. They are the same to the term 3% column so that the values above average appears with a green fill, and then the values below average appears in red fill. So we are going to make sure that we use the term 3. So you select them. And now the question says all the values above average should be highlighted in red fill or the green fill, and then those below should be in red fill. So conditional formatting, you get it from Home tab, you see conditional formatting. Or if in examination you do not know where to find conditional formatting, you can go to search and type conditional formatting. And then you go to new rule. Now there are different types of conditional formatting. We have whereby it says format all cells based on their values. We also have only format cells that contains. That is where you see between, less than, not equals to, and greater than. And then we have format cells based on their values. That is where you see 2-color scale, 3-color scale, data bars, and icon set. And then we also have top or bottom rules. Let's say they can ask you to find the top 3. You go there and choose top, and then you change it to 3. Then you now click on format. Or they can say bottom 3. You choose that one, and then you do that. Again, they can say the bottom 3%. Also, you take this one. Then we also have values that are above or below average. And that is what the question wants us to do. You select above or below average. So if it is above, you select above average. And then we also have equal or above average. You select and then you format it. Then we also have unique or duplicate. They can ask you to highlight duplicate values or highlight unique values. You get it from only unique or duplicate values. Then we also have use a formula to determine, which we are going to look at that. So let's stick to this question whereby it says above or below average. So when it's above average, we select above and then we go to format. And it should be in green fill. Then we select green and then OK. So above average will be filled with green. Then we go again to conditional formatting. New rule. This time we are going to choose below average. And then we format it with red. So below average is green and above average is also green. So that's how we do conditional formatting that involves above or below average. Now let's look at other part of conditional formatting also. This question says apply a conditional formatting to the school fees column that the top 3 highest values are stated in bold yellow fill. So now the top 3 highest values for the school fees. So you select the school fees and then you go to conditional formatting. You can type here also and choose new rule. Now they are talking about the top 3. So you choose only format top or bottom, and then you choose top 3. Then we format it to be bold. So font, we choose bold, and then we fill it with yellow color. So the top three will be filled with yellow and it will be bold. So that is how we also apply that type of conditional formatting. Now, the next question. We can also have conditional formatting that involves calculation. Let's say we want to apply conditional formatting on the names or surname, whereby the person got the term 1 mark to be more than 80%. So now we are applying the conditional formatting on the surname, but only when the term 1 mark is above 80%. So let's say you want to see all those names, all those learners who got distinction for term 1. So because we are comparing term 1 mark and then highlight the surnames, but not highlighting the term 1 mark, we need to use what we call the formula part of conditional formatting. So first of all, we will select the names. And then we go to conditional formatting, new rule. But this time, because we are comparing two columns, we need to select, use a formula to determine which cell to format, because we are comparing two columns. And then you come here and choose your formula. The formula is whenever the term 1 mark, which is J3, is greater than or equals to 80%. Now, because the J3 should be relative, that means it must run through. We need to remove the absolute reference, the $sign here, so that it will go down J3, J4, J5, and then we'll be highlighting each cell name. Then we format it. Let's say we want to fill it with a red. So all those learners who got above 80% will be highlighted with red. So Van Vick got term 1 mark of 84. That is why it's highlighted. If I change Gramini's mark to be 90, automatically he will also be highlighted with red font. So this is the conditional formatting that involves calculation or a formula. Then the last part of conditional formatting is like data bar or maybe using color scale. Let's say I want to highlight the color scales based on condition. Those who got distinction, and then those who got average, and those who failed. So when I go to conditional formatting, new rule, I must choose color scale, which is 3. You can also use data bar or icon set. They can ask you to choose any of them. Now, because these are marks, they are numbered, they are not percentage. So I will change these values from percent to number. So the highest there, the lowest, and then I'll be picking the minimum values there. Let's say 50 over here. $50. And then you can change the colors. The question will tell you how the colors should be. And then you click OK. So these are 3 color scales, ranking them, data bars. So you must watch out for this type of conditional formatting. And also, name range. It says create a name range called term 3 max for the values in term 3 percentage. Name range means making it absolute. So let's say we want this term 3 max to be called or given a name. We select the whole term 3 max, and then you right click and choose define name. Then you can now give it a name. That is what we call the name range. So we are going to give it a name as term 3 max. And then you click OK. So we have given these term 3 values as term 3 max. So if you go there, you see it's written as term 3 max. So that is how we apply the name range. Right. In an empty cell beneath the table, write a formula that uses the name range to calculate the average term mark. So now we are going to calculate the average term mark here. So instead of us to select, we will just use the average by saying equals to average. Now, so when we type that term 3 mark, it's going to select this one. Or alternatively, when we select this, it's not going to give us the range. It's going to say term 3 mark, the name that we gave, and then we press enter. So that is how we use the name range. So instead of it to select, you can also give it a name, and then you use it to do your calculations. Right. Then we are also going to focus on the data validation and see how data validation works, which is similar to the one in database. We call it validation rule. And then we also have combo box. So combo box and then validation rule. That is what we use also in spreadsheet. Now we are going to work with the forms worksheet, which previously we call it drop-down list. So this is our forms worksheet, which we gave it name as drop-down list. Now, according to the question, it says in cell G3 or G4, apply data validation so that the cell only accepts values from the grade list in A3 to A7. Show an error message titled invalid grade if the learner types anything else. So this is what we call the validation rule. Now we need to apply the rule over here so that it shows only the values in A3 to A7. So we have the grades here from A3 to A7. Let me enlarge it so that you can see them clearly. And now the question also says we need to apply data validation so that the cell only accepts values from the grade list in A3 to this. And then we are only applying to G4. Here is G4. So we need to only choose from these values here. Now, and then the question says we need to also show an error message titled invalid grade if a learner types anything else. So we are going to apply it here. Data validation. Data validation, you can get it from data, and then you see data validation. Or if in examination you don't know where to find it, you just type data validation or you type validation. From search, validation, you must type it properly, data. It should give you, but because I click there, when you click here, it should give you data validation. Yeah, here is it. Now, when you go there, you see settings, input message, and then the error. So under the settings here, you see any value. You are not supposed to choose that. We have whole number when you are dealing with numbers. We have decimal, and then we have list. We have date. We have time. We have text length, and we have custom, whereby you can just select the formula how you want it to be. Maybe you want it to be only this, A3 to that. So this one is not going to give you because there should be a formula when that one is equal to A3. But that's not what we're going to do now. But if you want to pick only the list, so you must select the source which is already given there. So here is to choose a list from that one. Right. But we are not going to do that. This is the list part. I'm going to ignore that. Now, this one here, you need to only ensure that it is only applying to this one. That is where you need to apply what you call the custom, not text length. Now, when you are customizing it, when this value here is equal to the value that is here, so whatever that they type here, if it is equals to any value here. So remember, if they type, it should give you that part. So if it is not the one for A3, it should give you an error. And how do we go to the message there? You go to input message, and then you say only values from A3 up to A7 allowed. So that will be the message there. So if they type anything there, then it's going to give, let's say I type grade 15. It's going to give you an error. Then you must check that you type wrong thing there. So this one, we are comparing the value that are here. And remember, I did not put any absolute there. So if G4 is equal to this one, A3, or you can just say G3 equal to, or G4 equals to A3 up to A7. A3 up to A7, only those values. It should not go beyond any value. So we are comparing the when G4 equals to A3 to A7, then the input message must be typed here. And then you are done. So here we were comparing. There are other questions also like this. H4, apply data validation so that the cell only accept male or female. So here we are only applying in H4 so that it can only be male or female. So here should only pick male or female, which is the data validation again. And then You don't choose text length, you customize it. So this cell here, which is H4, which you can click on H4, must be equals to male or female. Then you must put the input message. Sorry, it should give you my comma is giving problem there. Let's check the question again, whether it should be male. Only accept values that is male or female. So here you can also choose the options because the values male and female are here. So you can use the same approach. You don't need to type H4 equals to this one. And then the H4 should be absolute, only the value in H4. So here they were given to you, the male and female was given to you. So you put the message, the input message only include male or female. They were given to you over here. So you just need to choose that one so that you cannot type any other thing apart from. So if I type wrong female, it's going to give me an error message. Right. So this is whereby you compare. So this is a repetition with the first question. Now the drop-down list, which is also in database, we call it combo box or lookup wizard. Now, whenever you are dealing with combo box or lookup wizard, the languages also you choose data validation, but this time we don't choose custom, we choose list. And then where it says the source, you go and select the list. Then you press enter and then okay. So when you click here, it's going to give you those options to be able to select them. This is a drop-down list. Again, the category, we can use drop-down by using data validation. And then we choose list. Then you select the list. These are the lists given to you. So it's going to give you the various lists for the category. There is also another part of data validation, like text that contains and then the text length. Let's say we have some numbers over here. Or let me use the learner's worksheet. And we don't want to display any zero mark. So for term 2, and then you go to data validation. But this time we choose whole number, and then you say maybe between. Not only between that we have here, we have not between, equals to, not equals to, greater than, less than, and others. So let's say between 30 and then 100. That means those who pass. So now, if let's say this person, I give this person 25, it's going to give me an error because I said from 30 to 100. So it's not going to allow that. So take note of that. But what if I change that rule? That validation rule, I change it. And now, instead of 30 to 100, I made it to be, for instance, 70 to 100. There are some values that are less than 70. It's already tied. So meaning those values are outside our condition. So if you want to check the invalid values, you go to data validation and then choose circle invalid data, and it's going to circle all the values that are not valid. It's going to circle them. That is, they are outside the condition that was given to you. So watch out for data validation and then also the input, like the drop down list and then the data validation. Right. If you have any question, you may add them. I'm going to also go. Like I said, the video will be available, so don't worry. You can get access to them also. Now let's go to, so you can do this also, text all the four, and then you check whether it will work. Now, without wasting much time, let's move straight to autofill and basic calculations. So we are going to basic calculation, logical functions, lookup functions, and others. Now, question number 28, we are going to work from the learner's worksheet again. In column A, use the autofill series to number the learners from 1 to the last record. Do not type each of them. So we are going to number them, which is called autofill. So to apply the autofill, you type 1 and then put the mouse pointer here at that corner there, double click. It's gonna number them 1, 1, 1 for you. Now go down there and then you see autofill options and then you choose fill series. So it's gonna number them 1, 2, 3 up to the last one. So that is how we do autofill. You type 1, double click, and then you go to fill series. So they can ask you to maybe autofill, maybe in even numbers or the dates. You must watch out for that. Those are the collectible marks. The next question, below the data in column J, term 1, insert the labeled formula as follows. Total of all term 1 marks. So whenever you see total, meaning you use the sum function. Average is average. That one is easier. And then you round it to 1 decimal place. Highest, we use max, or you can use large, max or large. And then lowest, you can use min or small. Count the learners, the total number. So whenever you see total with number, take note. When the question says find the total number means count. But when they say total only, it is sum. So you must take note of that. Now let's try and do these basic calculations. You must also know at least 1 or 2 marks will be there to balance the difficult levels. So you must make sure that you attempt all the questions. Now below term 1, so this is term 1 marks. We are going to do these calculations over here. So join me so that I will use the basic way of solving this question, the easier way. Now they say the total with the sum. So you press equal sign, total means sum. As you start typing the word sum or the function, you will see all the functions that begin with sum or SU. Double click, go to the formula bar, and then you select the values. And then you click OK. Again, the next question says we must find the average and it should be rounded. Now, I will advise you every time you get this type of question, average, then you round it. First of all, even though the question says we must find the average here, and then we round it, you are allowed to use the building block. They can give you a building block. I'm going to show you how the building block looks like. Let's say we have building block like this. They gave you a building block here. So you are allowed to do all your rough calculations in the building block. So for instance, they wanted to calculate the average and it should be rounded to 1 decimal place. You need to first calculate the average over here in the building block. So equals to average. Then you click on FX. So here we are going to find the average of term 1 mark. Then you select all the values for term 1. And then you click OK. So we got this value. We need to round 1 decimal. Now don't forget round, round up, round down, and add it. So round, click on FX, that's from the formula bar. And then where it says number, go to the building block, click on your answer, and then the number of digits, you say 1. You don't need to solve the question at once. Use the building block, get the first value for average, then you use the round function, and then you click OK. So this is the final answer that has been rounded to 1 decimal place. Right. The next question says, find the highest term 1 mark. The highest term 1 mark, I want us to use large. Equals to large. Then you click on FX. Where it says array, which is the range, you select all the term 1 marks. And then K. K means that when you arrange them from highest to smallest, the first position, so here K will be 1. If the question says find the second highest, we say K is equal to 2. If it says find the third highest, K will be 3. So here our K will be 1. The same way it says we should find the minimum. In grade 12, stop focusing on min and then max. Use large and small because most of the questions will be centered around large and small, like second highest, third highest, or the smallest value. So make use of the small or large function. So the lowest term 1 mark, again, we use small. And then you click on FX, where it says the array, select the values for term 1 mark. And then your K is now going to be 1. If they say the second lowest, K will be 2. Right, so that is all about large, small, average, and then the sum. Now, whenever the question says find the total number, then we use count. If it says for the surname, we use count A. Count A is for the, it can be alphabet or it can be numbers also. So if I'm looking for the total number, I can use count A or count. So if I use count A, I can select all the names. And then I press enter. So there are 30 of them. You can use count A, but if I change it to count, it will not work. It's going to give me 0 because I selected text, which is the names. So it should be count A. Right. So that's basically how to use the count A and then the count functions. Now, let me move straight to count blank. Count blank is to determine the blank or empty spaces. So it means count empty spaces. Count whereby there is an empty space. So we use count blank. Now the question says count any blank spaces in term 3 column. So equals to count blank. And then you select term 3 values. So we got 0 because there are no blank spaces. So if I delete one record, it's going to give me 1. So count blank is to count the blank spaces. So grade 12, do not take it as a joke. These are some of the basic questions that they can ask you also. Count empty spaces or those who did not provide something. Right. Now, so you must do this question when you have time. Average and then rounding it. I said you do that and then you also ensure that you do it in the building block, then use the round function. In column O, titled pass and fail, use a function. If the average is greater or equal to 50, then it should be passed. Otherwise, it should be failed. This is basic function. Now, the question says whenever the value is greater or equals to 50, then it is passed. Otherwise, it should be failed. So this is the basic if statement. So here you can use if statement or you can use ifs. And in grade 12, take note, the nested if you can use either this, but then those who use ifs is only those who have Office 365 or Office 2019, the latest one. Now there are two conditions. The question says, we must display the answer in column O. Let me just insert a new one here. If the value for term 3 mark is more than 50%, then it should be passed. Otherwise, it should be failed. So we can use if statement or you can use ifs. So I'm going to start with ifs. Equal sign ifs. And then you click on FX. So the logical text, we are comparing the term 3 values. And remember, we are putting the answer in O3. So meaning we are going to test with term 3 value in row 3, which is L3. When L3 is greater than or equals to 50, so this is the symbol for greater or equals to, then the value if true should be passed. Then we go to logical test 2. We compare the same column L by saying when L3 is less than 50, then the value if true is what fail. So whenever you use ifs, there can be so many conditions, and then you use that one to solve your question. So we can autofill. But in order to solve this question, I could have also done that, which I'm going to put it here. Still using ifs. I can just say ifs L3 is greater than or equal to 50. the value if through 1 will be passed. Now, the second condition that says otherwise, I don't know what otherwise is. So I will represent it with the word true. So true means otherwise. So I will type true. Then the value if true there will be fail. So you see, I'm getting the same answer. So take note, the otherwise part you can represent with the word true or true value, and then you put the statement, which works. Do not put the word true in inverted comma, you just type true to represent otherwise. There are times whereby you're going to get a question of this nature. Let me show you another way of if statement. Let's say we are comparing the same term 3. So we can have term 3 mark. And then we have comment. So that we have 3 conditions there. When the value term 3 mark is greater than or equals to 80, the value if true is excellent. And then we also have when it is between 60 up to 79. We say average. And then when it is otherwise, that means that when it is below 60, when it is below 60, we will say fail. So this one, there are 3 conditions here. Condition 1, we have condition 1, we have condition 2, and we have condition 3. So there are 3 conditions. To solve this, I always say that you take the first condition and you take the last condition. They are easier because it's easy to say greater or equals to 80, and it is also easy to say below 60. Below 60 means less than 60. But when you say between, that's where the problem is going to be. So I always say that because there are 3, you are going to put only 2 conditions, 2 if statement. The third one will be the otherwise. So our C2 will now be the otherwise we are talking about. And we are going to use our condition 2 as well, true. So now let's see how we're going to solve this type of question also. I'm going to delete this and apply that one. So I'm going to use if statement or if. I'll use if, then later I'll use if. The first condition is when term 3 value is greater or equals to 80. That's what the question says. We say excellent. Then logical 2. We click again L3, but we are not going to use the between one. We are going to use the one that says below 60. So L3 is less than 60. Then we say fail. Then logical test 3. Remember, there are so many. You can have so many logical tests. You just scroll down here. There are so many of them. So logical test 3, we are going to use this C2, condition 2, which say between. So the one that say between, we use the otherwise, we represent with what? True. And then the message should be average. Then you click OK. No, the average must be in inverted comma. Let me go there and check. Yes. When I type value if through 3, the average, I must click here. It must be in inverted comma. It must be in inverted comma. So you put it in inverted comma, and then you click OK. There we go. So some are excellent, some are fail, some are average. So this is what you need to know. If L3 is greater or equals to 80, the value should be excellent. If L3 is less than 60, the value should be fail. Otherwise, the true, it should be average. So when you use ifs, it solves your problem for you. Now, I could have used the same method by using if function. If L3 is greater or equals to 80, value if true will be excellent. Then value if false, I open another if with the open bracket. Now, when you open bracket, you will see from the formula bar there's open and close bracket. Click inside it. Then it's going to open the second function argument for you, whereby you test the second condition that's below 60. So you click on L3 is less than 60. Then the value if true will be fail. And then the value if false there, which is the otherwise average. Sorry, my average must be in inverted comma. There we go. So we can also solve that question in that way. If L3 greater or equals to 80, excellent. If L3 is less than 60, fail. Otherwise, average. So this is when you use if statement. So you can choose between if or you can choose between ifs. So whichever method will suit you or will be easier for you, you can make use of it. That's the nested if statement. Now, there are other questions also that we will come across, like this one in column P, titled award label or level. Use the if function to return distinction when it is greater or equals to 80. Merit when it is greater or equals to 70. Good when it's greater or equals to 60. Adequate when it's greater or equals to 50. Redo otherwise. So you see here, there are so many conditions here. You can follow the same steps, and then you achieve that answer. You can follow the same steps. Equals to ifs, term 3 mark, or they said the final average. We did not calculate the final average, so we can use the term 3. When term 3 mark is greater or equals to 80, then the message should be distinction. So you can see that each of them, the second one is, again, when this one is greater or equals to 70, then the value should be merit. So after every condition, you put a statement. So you are done. The last one that says otherwise, you just say, so here the next one will be when it's greater or equals to 60. Do not think that you are done. There's a space here. You click on this arrow, you can get more space. You say good. And then the next one says, when it is greater or equals to 50, you say adequate. And the last one says otherwise. So the otherwise you represent with true, and then the message will be redo. So it's gonna work also. This is if statement. Please take note and then use if statement to make your work or your life easier. Now, so you can do the same and follow this, but and function and or function, and then or. And function gives the value true when more than one condition, all of them are true. Or function when at least one condition is true. Now this question says, use an and function so that it returns the value true only if the final average and the person is in grade 12, otherwise false. So meaning that when the final average, we did not calculate the final average. Let me do that. The final average, that's average of all these, term 1, 2, and 3. Now, when the question said, when the final average value is 75 and above, and the person is in grade 12. So we just say equals to end. You click on FX, then you combine the conditions. When this final average value here is greater than or equal to 75, then the second logical test, the person should be in grade 12. So you click on the grade must be equals to 12. So N3 greater or equals to 75, then F3 must be equal to grade 12. So for the N function, you can combine so many conditions together. So it gives us false because the person is not in grade 12. So when we drag this one down and we drag this one down, some of them can also be true. If I change this person's grade from this one to 12, it should give me a true value. And N3 greater or equal to 75, then this one is 12. Maybe the number that I used there. Yes, it should be a number. Right. So basically, that is how we use the N function. If I change this N to all function and N, they are also the same. All means one condition must be true. So you can also use all function. So there are times whereby they can give you a question like the nested if, and then they ask you this type of question, which I am going to also use it. Let's say they ask you this question by saying if the person is male and the person is in grade 12, Or let's say the person is, I want to make a meaningful calculation here. Let's say we want to check whether term 1, term 2, term 3, the person was consistent. Now, we put the message consistent whereby the person's term 1 mark is above 80, term 2 is also above 80, and term 3 is also above 80. So we are going to put the message, and the message is like this: consistent when the person's term 1 is equals to or greater or equals to 80, term 2 is greater than or equals to 80, and then term 3 is also greater than or equals to 80. Otherwise, we say the person is not consistent. So we have to use n function together with all function, or together with the if statement to work. So we can use building block to make our life easier. So we go to building block and use n function equals to n. The logical one, we say term 1 mark is greater or equals 80. Term 2 mark is also greater or equals to 80. And then term 3 mark is also greater than or equals to 80. Then you click OK. So this one gave us false. Others will have true because they are getting all distinction. Now, after getting this, you can now go and put your function here equals to if, or you can use ifs. Logical test from your building block. If the answer in the building block T3 is equals to true, please do not put that true in inverted comma because those are the logical returns. It is not a text. Then the message should be consistent. Then the second one says true. The message should be not consistent. Here, the true here means otherwise. Or I can just say if T3 equals to false. But instead of me to say if T3 equals to false, I will just represent with what? True. So this person is consistent because it is true. So we can use building block to get our answer for n function or all function. Then after that, we use if statement to combine it. Please, this one will make your life easier. Instead of you to use complicated ones like this. If you want to be complicated, you can do it once. You can say ifs logical text 1. You now use n function. You open bracket, then you go to formula bar and click inside that bracket, open and close for n function. Then you now combine your conditions. Term 1 equals greater or equals to 80. Term 2 greater or equals to 80 also. And then term 3 greater or equals to 80. Now, when you are done with your n function here, go to the ifs. Click just after ifs. Then you come and click inside here. Then the value if true will be consistent. Then the value, the logical here, you say true. Value if false, you say not consistent. So here I combine them straight away, and then I use the building block, which is also going to give me the same answer. So it is up to you. If you are comfortable with the building block, use the end function. Then after that, you go and then use this. Or you can also make use of the formula bar to do it. Right. That is all about nested if, using nested if and then the logical functions to combine them. So take note, you can use if and then end, or you can use ifs to combine them, or use if function, and then you start clicking on the values over there. Right. I will check if there are no questions. I will proceed to other ones. Right. So let's proceed. You can bring your questions, everybody, and then we will proceed to the next one, which is all about we have about 30 minutes left. We're gonna do lookup function, and then from lookup function we'll do count ifs and sum if. If time is not on our side, we will break it down and then have another lesson also, text text function, and then the date and time, as well as the graphs. So we will also be looking at them. But I think we can do the lookup functions today, and also the conditional aggregate functions like count ifs and then the sum ifs. Then if time is not on our side, we will proceed to, or we will postpone the rest to maybe tomorrow, or we will communicate in the group. Right, without wasting much time, let's go straight to the lookup function. Now, here also, I will advise that you use X lookup if you are using 365. Otherwise, we will also be looking at V and then H lookup. Now, it says work on the subject lookup worksheet. So this is the subject lookup worksheet. Subject lookup worksheet. And now the question says, in column S, title teacher use a VLOOKUP function with a subject code to return the teacher's name from the subject lookup table. Now, we are going to display the subject code. The question says we must display to return the teacher's name from the subject lookup vertical table. So we have subject lookup vertical table. The teacher's names are here, and we are using a subject code to display the names also here. Now, in this case, this is our table. Now, the table can be on the same worksheet, or it can be on another worksheet. So let's say we had this in another worksheet, or on the same worksheet. So we use what we call VLOOKUP. Why VLOOKUP? Because the table is vertical. And then you click on FX. The lookup value here is the subject code, as the question is saying. And in the table array, you select the entire table. Do not include the heading. The column index, which column do we have the teacher's name? Which is column 3. This is column 1, column 2, and column 3. So the column index will be 3. And then the range lookup, you put the word or the word false when is the exact. That means that when you see the ENG here, you see it also that side. And you use true when it's approximate match. Now, if you are going to fail autofill like this, you see, we're going to have some challenges, especially here is working. When you want to go down, it's going to give you NA. So sometimes it's better to give the table a name, or you can put a $ before the range. You put a $. There we go. The easier way now, when you look up the table, should be vertical. What are you looking for? The lookup value. The lookup value, and then the table where you are taking from. And again, the column index. Which column are you picking the values from? And then the range lookup false when it is the exact match. And then you true when it is approximate match. There can be a complicated lookup function. For example, let's say we want to get, let me put this value to be 80. We want to display, let's say this one got 90. In this cell, we want to display the teacher who got the highest pass mark. Now, you see we have the pass marks here, and want to display the name for the person who got the highest pass mark. So we can also use vertical lookup, but then because of the highest pass mark, we need to find the value called of the highest mark, which is max. So we can use max function. Max of the pass mark, which is 90. And want to display who got that 90 mark, we use VLOOKUP. And then the lookup value will be the highest mark there, which is 90. Then the table array is the entire table. Then the column, which column are we picking from? We are picking column C, which is 3. So we want to get the one who got the highest. And then the range lookup will be false. So we are using the lookup value. Yeah, this one here must be the third one. If false doesn't work, you choose true. The one who got the highest mark, we selected the 90. And it should be part of this up to E12. Then the column that we are picking from is the teacher's name, column 3. And then it should be false. Let's check again the max of it. From this one, wait, this value here, the lookup, the table array, we are picking the 90 from here. it should be from here. And then the column index will be the same column. So here it's going to display the 90, but then here we wanted to use it to display the table name. It did not show because of the function. So you can use a combination of max. All that I want you to know here, I think maybe the question was not clear there, is you can use a function like max, min, and others inside also the vertical lookup. Now, this question here, you want to display the descriptors, whether achieve or not achieve, when it is F and others. Let's look at that question. We have the minimum percentage. The question says in column T, subject, use X or VLOOKUP to return the full subject name for each learner's code. The full subject name. So here I'm going to use XLOOKUP. We want to display the subject name. So I can use XLOOKUP also here. Equals to XLOOKUP. And then the lookup value will be the subject code. The lookup array, which value am I using to look up for? That will be this, all the subject codes. Remember, the lookup value and lookup array, they must be together. The lookup value must be part of the lookup array, which is a range. And then the return range, we are displaying the subject name. So you select the subject names. And then the match mode will be -1. -1 means the exact match. Then you are going to display them. Again, if you are not getting the answer, you can put the absolute reference by putting the $signs also. So you need to take note of that. Right. The next question, choose any learner and in a free cell, use HLOOKUP against the horizontal table there to return the symbol description for that learner using the term3 mark. So we have the term3 mark here. And then we have the subject lookup. These are the marks. So you want to put the descriptors here, whether not achieve or achieve. So we can use XLOOKUP also or HLOOKUP. Why HLOOKUP? Because the table is horizontal. You can see here, the table for the subject lookup is horizontal. So we use X or HLOOKUP. So I can use XLOOKUP also. Then lookup value will be the term3 mark. And then the lookup array, I go straight to the lookup subject lookup. The lookup array will be the minimum values, which is for the marks. And then the return, I want to display the descriptions. So I select all the descriptions. Then the match mode will be -1. And then okay. So you see it gave me, all that you need to know is XLOOKUP, you must specify the lookup value. And then you also specify the lookup range and then the return range. Which values am I going to return there? I'm going to also repeat it, equals to XLOOKUP. fx. Lookup value, we are using term 3 max. And then the lookup array, you choose the minimum values or the max. You select them. It can be vertical also. Then the return one, you go there and select the descriptions. And then you put match mode -1, which is mostly approximate, and then you get the answer. We could have solved this same question by using HLOOKUP, by saying equals to HLOOKUP. Why HLOOKUP? Because it's horizontal. So the lookup value is this one. The table array, you go there and select the entire table. Do not include the heading. So we will select the entire table. Then the row index, we want the third row. And then the match mode is true. True means it's approximate. Why is it approximate? Because this term 3 mark here is 68. When you go there, there's no 68. So that is approximate match. And then we got the answer. Remember, if the question says you must drag it down, then these ones here, you must apply the name range. You must give them names. The whole table, you right click and choose define name. And you can give it a name as A, so that it doesn't change. It should be an absolute reference. Right, so that is all about the lookup functions. You can watch the video again. Now, after the lookup functions, let's go through the next one, which is the count ifs, the sum ifs, the average ifs, and then also some date and time. And then we will be using what we call the wildcard. We'll be using wildcards also. Now, this question says in column H, total, here we are using the tax shop worksheet. So column H, it says we must calculate the total. We still have some time to finish. Now the total, you press equals to the unit price times the quantity. So it gives you 12. Now they can even ask you to find 15%. Let's say there's 15% here. And they want you to find VAT of 15% of this total. You must define name for this 15%. So you can just right click and say define name, or you can make it absolute. You can make it as A, or you can say B. So here is equals to this total times this A or B, and then it's going to give you the answer. So that when you autofill, it's not going to give you hashtag. So take note of them. Whenever you have a specific cell that you are comparing, you must give it a name, define that particular name, and then you can be able to solve that question. Right, now the question again says, format the unit price and total as currency with 2 decimal places. We looked at that one earlier, so you can do that. Below the table, calculate the total revenue for all the drinks. Total revenue for all the drinks. So if you look at this, we have this total, and we are going to find the total revenue for all the drinks. Because there's a condition here, we have different categories like drinks, snacks, meals, and others. Now we want to find the total for only the drinks. So we use what we call the sum if, because of the total revenue. So you say equals to sum ifs. Sum ifs, whether the condition is 1, 2, or 3, is still gonna work. And then the sum range will be the revenue, which is column H. Then the criteria range 1, where do we find the drinks? Where do you see your criteria, which is the categories? You select them. And then the criteria, we want the drink. So you can pick the first 3 letters of the drink. You say the star, DRI star. Take note, drink starts with DRI. So I pick it and then I put the star before, star after. So we got this. Remember, you could have just removed the star and then type the drinks all together. The same. But the reason why I prefer the drink, the star, which is called wild card, is that sometimes drinks can be together with others, whereby the question can say, insert a function to display those that contain or those that have drinks. Then you need to put the star before and then also star after. So that's how we can use to display that. Now let's look at the next question. Total revenue for Mrs. Dramini selling meals. So here there are 2 conditions. That's why we are using sum ifs. So like I said, whether the condition is 1 or 2 or 3, you can still use sum ifs. Here we want Mrs. Dlamini and Mrs. Dlamini selling meals. So we can find Mrs. Dlamini as a cashier and then the meals also here. So there are 2 conditions. So we use sum ifs. Then you click on FX. The sum range again will be all the revenue, which is the total. Then the criteria range 1, you can choose any of them, whether column C first or column D second. So criteria range 1, let's take where Miss Dlamini is. And then the criteria. Now, you can make a mistake by saying Mrs. Dlamini. So it's better you can put it as star DLA star. And the criteria range 2, you select all the categories and selling of meals, you can say star MEAL star. There we go. So please stick to the asterisk or the star, which is called the wild card. It becomes easier in order to take your criteria. Right. Then again, we move on to the next question, the number of transactions handled by Mr. Kumalo. Here we are using some count if or count ifs because of the word number. In examination, most examiners will confuse you and say total number. Because of the word number here, forget about the total, it's still count. So total number means count ifs. So the total number of transactions by Mr. Kumalo. So we use count ifs, equal sign, count ifs. And criteria range 1, you select the criteria we are looking for, Mr. Kumalo. So you can say star, KHU star. Remember, I'm using this one so that we become consistent. We are going to use this more often also in database. So take note of that by using wildcard. It contains when you put the asterisk before and after, meaning that they contain. And the average if, find the average quantity sold per transaction in stationery category. So also use average ifs equals to average ifs. Now, the average range will be, let's check the question again. Quantity sold. So it will be the quantity. And then the criteria range 1, quantity sold per transaction in the stationery category. So stationery can be found in the category. So criteria range 1, you select all the categories. And again, the criteria, you put star, STA star, stationery. The first 3 letters of stationery, STA, and then you put OK. So whether it's average is, count is, sum is, make use of wildcard. Right, so that's all about the conditional aggregate. Conditional aggregate. Now, text function. Remember here, we are not going to talk about it. We have already done it. You can practice them. You can practice all this and removing duplicate. What we are left with is the text function and date and time. And then we have 8 minutes. So I think we will stick to date and time. Then we have more time to deal with text function in our next lesson. Right, date and time. On learner's worksheet or on learners in column Y, titled age, use year frec with today to calculate the number of age or the number of years. Now, I will say that whenever you have these are the dates given to you. And then let's say we want to calculate the number of years. So you want to calculate age. Please, from today, take note. Anytime you are dealing with age, use the function called year frec. Year frec equals to year frec. You click on FX. The start date will be this date given to you. And then the end date will be today's date. You just say today. Open and close brackets. So this is the years or the age. Right. Now, if the question says you must take it to a, 1 decimal or as a whole number, you go to the formula bar from A, you can double click here. And after the equal sign, you just type int. INT, double click on FX and press enter. So it's gonna find the integer part of it. So let's say this date here is not 2026, but this date was 2005. Then you're going to find the age as what? 21. Right, so to calculate the age, use year frec. After that, you can use the int function to determine the integer part of it. Alternatively, you could have just said equals to year and then you put today. Open and close bracket. Then you double click and say minus. You go to formula bar and say minus. Year again. You open bracket and click on this year, date given to you. Of course, it's going to give you a date. Go to the number format and change it to number. So you're going to get 21 years. So you can choose year frec or you can use the year function. And I'm sure it's easier to use the year function. Right. Again, we can also calculate what we call number of days. When the question is asking for number of days, use days function. Make use of days function. Equal sign days. And then the end date will be the date, or the start date will be this date, and then the end date will be today. You open and you close bracket. So this is the number of days between the two given dates. If you are calculating the age, don't forget to use year frec. Days, use days. And if you are to calculate the number of months, if the question asks how many months have passed, you can use the days function, or you can use the year frec function. Let me use the days function. End date will be today. And the start date will be the date given to you. After that, click OK. Then you double click and then you go to the formula bar and say, we are looking for month. How many days per month? Is 30 days or 30.5? So we say divide by 30.5 or 30.5. So this will be the number of months. The answer for days, you divide everything by 30.5 because there are 30 days or 31 days. Now, if they are asking for the number of weeks also, you calculate the days and then how many weeks, say divide by 7. There are 7 days per week. So this is the number of weeks. So take note of that, how to calculate these dates. But one interesting thing about date calculation is that, let's say you are given a question to extract the month. We use the month function, equal sign month. If it's a month of this, it's going to give you 5, which is the month of that date given to you. The same way, if you are asked to extract the day, you use the function called day. Day into bracket, the date given to you will extract the day for you. And the year function, also we use the year function to extract the year from a given date. Now, if you get a question that says, use the date function to determine a new date after 10 years and 2 months. A new date after 10 years and 2 months. Then you have to say equals to date. A new date after 10 years and 2 months equals to date. Where we have the year, you use the year function, open bracket, and click on the date. You close your bracket. Where you see the month, use the month function, open bracket, and then click on that date given to you. And where they say the day, use the day function, open bracket, you click on the date given to you. Now, after that, the question says, after 10 years and 2 months. So you go to the year space over there and say plus 10. Whenever they say after, means you add. If they say before, you subtract. So after 10 years and 2 months, the month is a plus 2. And then you click OK. So the new date after 10 years here and 2 months will be this date, 7th of July 2015. So when you scroll down, it's going to calculate for each value there. Right, so that is how we use the date function to determine a new date. So they can ask you this type of question. Watch out for that. And finally, time function. Time function. If you have time, different times given to you, let's say I have different times. Let's go to the staff worksheet. So you can see here we have the shift time and then the end time. The shift start and then the shift end. If you are to calculate the number of hours, let's say the question is to find the number of hours. To calculate the number of hours, you are going to use a calculation like equals to, you open bracket, the end time minus the start time, you close bracket, times 24. There are 24. So when you say the end time minus the start time is going to give you days, then you multiply by 24, then it's going to give you the number of hours. Of course, change it from custom to number. So this is 9.5 hours. Now, if the same with the question wants the second, then it's going to be equals to the open bracket, the end time minus the start time, close bracket, times 24. Now you are converting to seconds, so times 60. Again, go and change it from here to number. So these are the number of seconds. Oh, this is minutes, sorry. Minutes. Then if you're looking for seconds, will be equals to the end time minus the start time times 24 times 60 times 60. So if you want the seconds, you multiply by 24 times 60 times 60. That is the second. If you want the number of minutes, you just times 24 times 60. And the number of hours, you multiply by 24. So that's how we calculate different times. But if the question says extract the second from it, then we use the second function. Second of the start time, which will give you 0. And if they're asking for the minute, remember there's minute and minute. The minute from this one will be equals to minute function. Then you click on the start time. The minute was 0. And then the hour also, there's an hour function, will be 7. So take note how to calculate these functions, how to calculate these date, and time functions. But the same way, let's say we do not know when it's going to end, and we only have the number of hours. We have hours here to be 10 hours. And the question is to find the end time. Find the end time. Then you need to use the function called time. Equal sign time. Then using the start time, you must use the hour function to extract the hour from here, and use the minute function to also extract the minute, and use the second function to extract the second from here. Then after that, you will see the number of hours that were given to you is here. So you go to the hour and say plus the number of hours that was given there. So this will be the new time. That will be the new time, which is 17 hours. Right. Basically, you can use the time function just like the way we use the date function to also determine the time, the hour, and then the minute. Please, may you go through these questions, the date, the minute, the hour, and solve these questions also using the year frec and all these, that like the number of days, and then you practice this one. We will find time in our next session. Before we do database, we are going to focus on the text function, and then after that we start with the database. We will try and make sure that we solve every single question. Now let me check if there's no question, but I promise you, okay, I will check. If you want to calculate the month function, like here, if you wanted the month function, just equals to month, or you are saying the number of months, like this one here. When we calculated the number of months here, I want to see where we used for the number of months. Okay, let's say this one with a number of months. You say equals to year frec. Start date will be this date, and the end date will be today. You click OK. This is the number of years. Now to convert this one to the number of months, how many months per year, which is 12 months. So you can go here and say times 12. We got this. To change it to a whole number, you go here and choose number. Now we want the whole number. That means you must find the integer part or you must round it. So here you double click and then you go after the equal sign, you say int. Double click on int and then press enter. It's going to calculate for you the integer part as a whole number. Right. So that is how we do that particular question. Right. Now I'm going to check if there's no question. I will leave here. I will end here, and then I will make sure that this is a long session. I will break them down based on the topics. Then you can have them into a smaller one. You can use the same link to watch this video again. and then I'll also break them down. Then our next session, we will focus on the text function and then database also. Database is not a lot. We can combine it with the text function. Thank you for your precious time. Good night.